Ready? Let's do it. Right now, as I'm speaking, somewhere between 3 to 4 million Bitcoin, that's $357 to $476 billion worth, is sitting completely inaccessible on the Bitcoin blockchain, lost forever due to poor key management and backup practices. And every single day, more Bitcoin is lost to the wilds of the Bitcoin blockchain. According to River.com's financial research, that's a Bitcoin exchange, this represents between 14 and 19% of Bitcoin's total supply of 21 million coins. That's more Bitcoin than entire countries will ever hold, completely gone. Also, according to a 2025 study, again by River.com, self-custody mishaps are now causing more lost Bitcoin than even exchange hacks. The question seems to be not whether you're going to face a backup emergency, but when. And when that moment comes, will your Bitcoin backup system save you, or will you become another cautionary tale? Stay tuned to learn how you can avoid donating your Bitcoin to all the rest of us. Let's get to it. So why are billions of dollars of Bitcoin just disappearing forever? The answer comes down to one critical factor: backup failures. If you're holding Bitcoin in self-custody, your backup method is literally the keys to your financial kingdom. For most people using traditional Bitcoin wallets, that means a seed phrase. Though alternatives like seedless hardware wallets do exist, we're not going to talk about those today. The problem is that most people are doing backups completely wrong, using methods that leave them vulnerable to fire, flood, theft, goats, or simply human error. Today I'm going to focus on seed phrase backup methods since they're used by the vast majority of self-custody solutions. And I'm going to show you why that piece of paper in your desk drawer with your seed phrase written on it just isn't enough. The numbers tell a sobering story. In 2020, a study done by a company called Chainalysis estimated 3.7 million Bitcoin were lost forever due to poor key management. That's 440 billion at current Bitcoin prices. And more recent research by River.com again found that approximately 1.6 million Bitcoin, worth approximately 190 billion, have become inaccessible specifically due to self-custody mistakes, which actually surpasses the 1.2 million Bitcoin that have been lost through exchange hacks and failures, like Mt. Gox and FTX. As catastrophic as those exchange failures were, why isn't anyone talking about the Bitcoin that's lost to poor seed phrase management? We're going to fix that today. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through several unique seed phrase backup techniques that help you protect your Bitcoin beyond paper storage. These include mathematical encoding techniques, raw entropy storage, professional grade metal solutions, additional security layers like passphrases, without compromising your security, and even methods that let you split your seed phrase across multiple locations. By the end of this video, you're going to have the knowledge to create a backup system that could protect your Bitcoin for decades. But before we get to those advanced techniques, let's understand why traditional seed phrase backup techniques fail so catastrophically. And let's do that by starting with the most dangerous misconception. Many people think storing their seed phrase on their hardware wallet is sufficient backup. It's not. Hardware wallets are excellent for transaction security, but they're electronic devices that break, malfunction, get lost, corrupted, or become obsolete. Trusting a lifetime of Bitcoin savings to a single electronic device, even a good one, is, frankly, a little bit irresponsible. Ideally, you would use a separate, durable backup that doesn't depend on any electronic device working properly. There are some people who realize this risk and write their 12 or 24 word seed phrase on a piece of paper, thinking they're being extra safe. But paper degrades, it burns at 451 degrees Fahrenheit, it's not waterproof, can be easily stolen, destroyed, or just simply misplaced. It's better than hardware-only storage, but still inadequate for protecting significant wealth, which all of you have. The BIP 39 standard, which most wallets use, generates your seed phrase from a list of 2,048 specifically chosen words. Here's what most people don't realize. These words were specifically picked out of the English language so that only the first 4 letters of each word are needed for identification. No 2 words in the BIP 39 word list, all 2,048, start with the same first 4 letters. Additionally, Each word corresponds to a number from 1 or 001 to 2048. I think it starts with the word abandon and ends with the word zoo. These numbers that designate a specific word give us multiple ways to represent the same information. Both design features open up several advanced backup techniques that are far more secure than simply recording the words on a piece of paper. The first and most important upgrade you can make to your seed phrase storage system is moving beyond paper entirely. Paper itself will not survive a house fire, but metal will, and the best metal seed phrase backup solutions can withstand temperatures above 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They're completely waterproof, corrosion-proof, and often crush-proof. However, not all metal backup systems are created equally. Systems with moving parts like individual letter tiles can fail over time. Tiles can fall out of place or shift. So, for maximum reliability, consider punch-based systems like the one-key key tag I have right here, if you can see that. It's a titanium alloy plate with a pre-made grid on it, and the grid is set up to represent the numbers that correspond to the words in your seed phrase. Another option is what's called the cold tie titanium seed phrase backup plate, and it has 2 screws that keep it together. You can wrap tape around the edges to make sure that if there's any monkeying with it, that you'll be aware of it. And you separate these 2 parts, and it's just blank. There's a little area for each word in your seed phrase, but basically it's just a blank plate, and you use special pins to stamp numbers or even letters onto the device. These 2 systems are particularly durable because there's no moving parts, and your backup is permanently marked into solid metal. I'll leave links for these 2 products. They're available on Amazon in the description below. Once you've chosen your metal backup medium, you can then decide what encoding technique works best with your chosen system. Obviously, if you choose a key tag, you're going to go with the binary system, and the key tag instructions explain all that. I also have a video on this on my channel. You can look at that. Whereas the cold tie titanium plate gives you a lot more flexibility with your backup system. Okay, the first advanced method we're going to talk about is pretty simple. Since only the first 4 letters of each BIP39 word are needed for identification, you can create a much more compact and a bit obscured backup by stamping just those letters into your metal plate. Instead of stamping abandon, ability, able, about, and absent into the plate, you would just simply take the first 4 letters of each word and stamp them into the plate, thereby representing the words of your seed phrase. That way, if somebody gets a look at the plate, they're not instantly going to know what your seed phrase is. It creates a shorter, sort of less obvious backup that still contains all the information you need to reconstruct your entire seed phrase. This method is particularly useful when working with limited space on certain metal backup options, or when you just want your backup to be a bit less recognizable as a Bitcoin seed phrase to casual observers. Now, if you want to make your backup a little bit more discreet, we can take this concept a little bit further using the numbers. Oh, let me show you a visual of what this looks like. Let's go ahead and take a look at a website. Here we are at cryobackup.com, and it's just a random site that has a list of the BIP39 words. And we'll start with word number 1, which is abandon. And if we scroll down, if I can grab this little scroll bar, there we go, all the way down to the bottom. Word 2048 is zoo. So each word, the first 4 letters represent the word. And you can see all the words that start with W have different first 4 letters. Pretty cool, huh? And each word has a corresponding 4-digit number from 0001 to 2048. So instead of storing words, you can instead store the corresponding number. This creates a numerical backup that can look quite meaningless to most people, but can be easily converted back to your seed phrase using any BIP39 word list, and they're all over the place on the internet. You can stamp your seed phrase as a series of 4-digit numbers right on the seed plate. This method is particularly useful because numbers are not tied to a certain language. The seed phrase has been translated into multiple languages, and if someone puts a seed phrase down that is from a different language, it would be really hard to interpret for anyone who doesn't know that language if they needed to. Whereas if the person had recorded the numbers, obviously they would represent a specific word on the list and be very easy to translate and record. Okay, but what if you want your backup to be completely unrecognizable, even to someone who understands Bitcoin? That's where mathematical encoding comes in. Incidentally, before we get too far, I wanted to show you the Amazon pages for the couple of products that I've already mentioned. Right here, we have the Amazon page for the one-key key tag, which is a titanium alloy plate. And it comes with a puncher, and you punch dots into the plate in the corresponding spots. And then that code represents your seed phrase. It's actually a binary code. And also, this is the link or the page for the cold tie titanium Bitcoin plates. They are pure titanium, and you can get them in a bunch of different sets. You can get an alphabetic punch set using the English alphabet. You can just get 2 plates or double plate, You can get a numerical punch set, which just has the number punches. I have that myself. You can get a scratcher that you can try to draw onto the plate. It doesn't work. I tried it. It's awful. And you can, of course, get a single plate if you want to stack them up with longer screws. Back to the video. For those people who want maximum obfuscation of their seed phrase, there are mathematical encoding methods that make your backup completely unrecognizable as Bitcoin-related data. The first is binary code. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can simply enter the number of the corresponding word into a binary code converter. And I have one right here. Let's go ahead and look at that. It's right here. So if you enter your 4-digit decimal number, so let's go 1644. That's the number that corresponds to that particular word in your seed phrase. You encode it to binary, and you get an 11-digit binary number. Alternatively, what you can do is use a seed phrase or mnemonic converter on the web and run it from your computer, not on the web itself. And you could simply generate a seed phrase, or you can enter your seed phrase into the seed phrase spot right here, and it will sort of reverse engineer the information that was used to create that seed phrase. And we're going to click that little box, show entropy details. And what we're going to get, let's generate a seed phrase first. Click show entropy details right there. And you'll see this right here, raw binary. This is the binary number that represents the first word, inch. So let's go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to paste it into this binary code encode decode calculator and see if we end up with the word index, which is 914. Sometimes this is one off, but I'll show you here. Let's go ahead and paste this in here, clear this out, and decode. There it is. Word 914. We'll go back to the app. There it is. Word 914. So these first 11 digits, there's a small space in here, which is not very easy to see. There's one here. Each set of 11 digits represents the binary code for that particular word in your seed phrase. Or this is the decimal number for the word of your seed phrase, for each word of your seed phrase. So you've got a couple different pieces of information right up here in the entropy details on this special mnemonic code converter, which can be found at iancoleman.io/BIP39. This is currently running off of my computer. So I downloaded the web page and I'm running it locally. So it's not transferring information to any server. But if you wanted to, you can play around with it. I'll leave the link in the description for this. And let's get back to the video. So that's the binary code conversion of your seed phrase. So it would be a 12-word seed phrase would have 132 binary numbers that represented it, 11 times 12. While the 24-word seed phrase would have 264 digits, and you can stamp those 11 digits, if you can fit them on the space, into a metal backup plate. So you can sort of imagine finding this backup plate or seeing the list of 132 digits, ones and zeros, and going, I have no idea what that is, even if you're into Bitcoin. And there's a second method, and it works similarly, but it uses base 8 numbers instead of base 2 numbers like the binary method does. It's called octal, and it's just another way to make your Bitcoin seed phrase look like completely random data. Let's go ahead and look at the converter. Again, I have on this web page, we're going to go switch to the octal tab here, and I'm going to enter a decimal number. We're going to use 2032, and I'm going to encode it. And that is the number that I would record on the metal plate. Anybody who's really into Bitcoin would know that that doesn't represent a seed phrase because the seed phrase goes from 1 to 2048 in terms of their decimal number. They'd never know what this number represented while the device is meant to hold a seed phrase. If it had a number on it larger than the seed phrase list, it's just random data. They don't know that you use this octal method of encoding. And let's go ahead and clear this out and just reverse engineer it, 3760. And we're going to go from octal to decimal, and we're back at 2032. See how that works? So if you needed to restore a seed phrase, you can just simply decode the octal back to a decimal number, and you're in business. Now, for more advanced users, there's an even more fundamental approach. You back up the raw entropy that was used to create your seed phrase, rather than the seed phrase itself. Your seed phrase is created from either 128 bits or 256 bits of random entropy. So instead of storing bean, pizza, muffin, zoo, whatever, the words of your seed phrase, you could store the 32-character hexadecimal number that represents the entropy that was used to create it. I'm going to show you this on that Ian Coleman page right now. Okay, here we are back at the iancoleman.io/BIP39, and we're going to generate another seed phrase. Press generate, and we're going to go back into the entropy details. This is the number that was used to create Miracle Ride, Slice, Copy, etc. So you might think, well, that's weird. If I just back up this number, I have my seed phrase backed up? Yes, you do. This number is deterministic. The Bitcoin code is deterministic. That is, the same input always creates the same output. So if you have this number recorded exactly the way it is, then you will always get the same output, this seed phrase. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to copy it, and we're going to refresh the page. I'm going to show entropy details. And again, there's no seed phrase in here yet. Going to paste, and there we go. That is the seed phrase we had just a minute ago, created with the exact same entropy. This is pretty cool. And then if you doubled it, just going to copy and paste it. Now we have a 24-word seed phrase. Now that's not secure, so don't do that. But if you created a 24-word seed phrase, you simply back up this number, and a 12-word seed phrase would be a number that was half the size, like that. There you go. This method is extremely compact. A 24-word seed phrase, as I showed you, becomes only 64 characters. It's also completely unrecognizable as Bitcoin-related data. And since the process is deterministic, you can always recreate the exact same seed phrase from the entropy used to create it using any BIP39 tool. Advanced users can take this even further by encoding this hexadecimal number into a QR code, for instance. Or if you wanted to, you could take this hexadecimal number. I'm going to copy it. We're going to run over to this little program I have here, and I'm going to paste the number into here. I'm going to enter a password and encrypt it. And now I have encrypted text that represents the hexadecimal number used to create the seed phrase for my wallet. Now, you can go multiple steps, but you have to be very careful not to get too complicated, because your loved ones will not be able to figure it out unless you give very specific information in your will or however you want to distribute that information. But creating a QR code of the entropy or even of the encrypted data creates an incredibly efficient backup. Your entire wallet reduced to a small, single QR code that could even be printed on some waterproof paper, which is available on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description, or even laser engraved into metal. Pretty cool, huh? But this technique requires special knowledge and careful handling to ensure accuracy, especially when creating and storing the entropy backup. One digit off and your seed phrase is gone. Before we move on to even more advanced seed phrase backup techniques, there's an important security technique that works with any of the backup methods we've covered, and that is the BIP39 passphrase, sometimes called the 13th or the 25th word. This isn't a backup technique. It's an additional security layer that creates an entirely separate wallet from the same seed phrase. Let's head over to that Ian Coleman page and take a look at that. Okay, here we are back at the mnemonic converter. I've created a seed phrase. This is where the passphrase would go, and watch the representation, the digital representation of the seed phrase change. The seed phrase doesn't change, the wallet changes. See that? That's our passphrase for the wallet, and we have a completely different wallet. Let's go look at this one. This is the private key for the wallet, and I'm going to press space. Private key changed completely. THERE. Anytime we enter a character here, we get a completely different wallet without changing the seed phrase, okay? These are really fun tools to play around with so you can learn how things work behind the scenes. I also have a video on this on my channel about how the wallets are created, if you want to check that out. When you add a passphrase to your seed phrase, you get access to an entirely new group of Bitcoin addresses. Someone could have your full 24-word or 12-word seed phrase and still couldn't access your Bitcoin without knowing the passphrase. Now, I would recommend using one that's a little more advanced than hi there, but you get the point. Using a passphrase effectively eliminates the single point of failure problem inherent with traditional seed phrase storage. Like seed phrases, your passphrase could be stored in multiple different formats. Instead of using a word-based passphrase, you could use a hex converter like I have here. We're going to enter a passphrase here. This is my, not the greatest passphrase to use, but for demonstration purposes, this would be the hexadecimal number that you might store wherever you would like to do that, either physically or digitally, and no one is going to know that this is a passphrase for your Bitcoin wallet. For passphrase storage, what I would recommend is using a reputable, encrypted password manager like Proton Pass or Bitwarden or 1Password. There's a lot of them out there. You can pick one. Another option is to encode your passphrase into what's called base 64, which is a very similar idea. And it looks like this. This is very recognizable to me as base 64 because it has these little equal signs at the end, which are extra padding to make the word or to make the base 64 sequence square, so to speak. It's like filling up squares. It's hard to explain, but basically it's padding at the end of the number. Not every word translates into a base 64 number that has padding. For instance, if you continue to add digits, the padding will disappear. So it depends on the length of the passphrase. But you can store this, and you can tell your heirs or beneficiaries that this is a base 64 number, and they just have to decode it. And what they would do is go to an app on the web and decode it, and they're good. Again, this is not your seed phrase. You should be comfortable putting it into a converter on the web, particularly if it's running client side and not communicating with a server like this one is. Now, all these backup and security methods we've discussed solve various problems: durability, obfuscation, and even single points of failure. But they still share one potential weakness. If you lose your backup or forget your passphrase because you didn't put it in a password manager, your Bitcoin could be lost forever. And that's what we're trying to avoid. What if I told you there's a way to reduce some of that risk? You can do that using a technology called Shamir Secret Sharing, which lets you split your seed phrase into multiple 20-word lists called shares, where you only need a subset of those shares to recover the secret. For instance, you could create a 5-share set, but only require 3 being brought together to restore the secret. So that would be a 3 of 5 sharing setup. This means you can lose 2 of those shares and still recover your Bitcoin. The mathematical beauty is that having fewer than the required threshold of shares gives you zero information about the hidden secret. In other words, you can't put together half or 2/3 of the secret with 2 of the shares. So someone who discovered 2 of the 3 Shamir shares that you've created would be no closer to accessing your Bitcoin than having nothing at all. Here's where this gets practical. Instead of managing multiple 20-word lists, modern tools like Superbacked, done a video on them on the channel. It's a really neat tool. Encrypt each share and then converts it into a simple QR code. You input your seed phrase, set your threshold, and the app generates encrypted QR codes for each share. Now you're protecting your wallet with 5 QR codes instead of 1 vulnerable backup. Now that is security. You can store these QR codes anywhere. You can laminate them, put them in safe deposit boxes, give them to family members. A house fire might destroy one of the codes, but it won't destroy all 5 if you've got them stored in different locations. Keep in mind that QR codes bring us back to paper as a backup medium, which of course has the same durability limitations as we discussed earlier. For maximum durability, you might consider printing on a waterproof, tear-proof paper that I found on Amazon. It's right here. It's called TerraSlate Premium Waterproof Paper, 8.5 by 11. It comes in different sizes and thicknesses. This is a 5 mil and different size packages. It's not cheap, but this is 25 sheets for $25. So you've got a whole bunch of opportunities to print QR codes. You can leave them unlaminated. You could try to take them somewhere to get laminated. Again, Superback encrypts the share and then it makes a QR code for it. So if you scan it, you're just going to get an encrypted mess of data. And Superbacked is available here at superbacked.com. There's the application. Enter your information. Make sure you put a passphrase in. Pick your distribution. Add a label, create, and there are your QR codes. They are really intense QR codes, and you can print them. You can save them digitally if you want. Again, if somebody finds one of these and scans it, it's just encrypted data, so it's not going to give them any information. And if they found 2 of them, of the 3, they still need your passphrase, which should be stored separately. So whether using traditional backups or advanced techniques like Shamir Sharing or Superbacked, there's one crucial element that separates amateurs from professionals, and that is where you actually store the backups. The key is geographic distribution. Professional Bitcoin holders use this strategy to protect against localized disasters. The approach varies based on your custody model. For multi-sig setups, you can safely store each key in separate bank safety deposit boxes, for example, or separate locations, maybe one at work, one at home, one with a friend, one with a lawyer, wherever, because no single key can access your Bitcoin. For single signature wallets, sort of normal wallets, you need to be a little bit more careful about your distribution. Perhaps one backup at home, maybe one with a trusted family member, and one in a professional storage facility or a safety deposit box or something like that. According to a collaborative custody company called Unchained, proper geographic distribution of multi-sig keys has prevented millions of dollars of losses during natural disasters, burglaries, and other localized events. Now let me share some critical considerations that could make or break your backup strategy. The key insight from security experts is this: complexity is the enemy of security, but so is oversimplification. There's a sweet spot in there you need to find. You need redundancy without creating additional attack vectors. According to multiple documented cases, the stories are staggering. I'm sure you've all heard of this guy in country Wales in the UK. He threw away a laptop with 8,000 Bitcoin on it and has been trying to get it back for a decade. It's now worth just shy of $1 billion. And there's another case, a person named Stephen Thomas, who has 7,002 Bitcoin locked up in an encrypted thumb drive, which he forgot the code to, and he only has 2 more tries before the device wipes itself. That stash is worth approximately $830 million. Neither of these guys had a backup system that worked. Whatever backup system you choose, you must test it before you rely on it. Here's how you do it. Create your backup, give it to a significant other. For me, I would give it to my wife and I would lay on the floor with my tongue hanging out and say, I can't help you, I'm dead. We call it the dead drill. And she tries to restore the wallet using the backup that I gave her. You can use a test wallet with a small amount of Bitcoin in it for this type of test. If the process fails, you can fix it while your main funds remain safe. For inheritance planning, Shamir sharing works particularly well. You can distribute shares among family members with a threshold set that prevents premature access, but ensures that your heirs can recover the funds when they need to. One critical warning: be extremely careful about digitizing your backup process. Don't take unencrypted photos of your backups that might sync with some cloud service. Don't store unencrypted seed phrases in the cloud, and don't enter your seed phrase into an unknown online tool. However, there are secure digital backup methods. Using proper encryption software on a clean, offline device and storing encrypted backups of your information, if done properly, can be secure. The key is understanding the difference between secure and insecure digital practices. All right, so you understand the risks and you know the techniques, but where do you actually start? Let me break it down to actionable steps based on your experience level. For beginners, start with 2 metal backup plates using different methods. One with the first 4 letters of each word stamped into a solid metal plate, and one with word numbers punched as binary dots using these 2 devices. That's a great place to start for beginners. Avoid systems with moving parts and store these metal plates in different geographic places. For intermediate users, start by implementing a BIP39 passphrase stored in a properly encrypted password manager. Then you might consider implementing a QR-coded Shamir backup using the application called Superbacked. You can create either a 2 of 3 or a 3 of 5 or whatever setup you want. In this setup, you print the QR codes, keep one for yourself, and then distribute the other QR codes in the group to the various people that you want to have holding these backups. This gives you multiple layers of security. Even if someone finds your seed backup, they can't access your Bitcoin without the passphrase. For advanced users, you can combine methods. Implement a BIP39 passphrase, use QR-coded Shamir sharing as your primary backup, create binary, octal, or raw entropy encoded versions for maximum obfuscation, and maintain geographic distribution for each backup type. And you might even consider creating both a 2 of 3 and a 3 of 5 Shamir sharing schemes for different threat models. Remember, your backup is only as strong as your weakest link. Test everything, document your process, but keep those documents secure, and review your backups annually, at the very least, to ensure that they're still readable and accessible. Now, here's the reality check that every Bitcoiner needs to hear. The $350 to $475 billion worth of lost Bitcoin represents real people who thought that their backup system was adequate, or maybe they never thought they'd have a problem. Don't become a statistic. The techniques I've shown you today, from raw entropy encoding to passphrase security layers to QR-encoded Shamir sharing, are used by professionals managing millions, if not billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Your seed phrase backup isn't just about technology. It's about ensuring your financial sovereignty survives any disaster life throws at you, whether it's a house fire, a natural disaster, or simply just the passage of time. Proper backups turn catastrophic losses into minor inconveniences. I hope this video helped you understand advanced seed phrase backup techniques. If you got anything out of it, hit the subscribe button and smash the like button while you're down there. I appreciate all you guys lasting through this video. This was a long one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And backup practice forever long. And when that moment comes, will your seed phrase backup system, oh my God, split your seed phrase and fail so, oh my God. Paper itself won't withstand, oh my God. Which is word, oh my God. So instead of storing the, to most people, but can be, oh my God. This method is particularly passphrase backups, oh my God. The techniques I've shown you today, from raw entropy encoding, oh my God, effectively eliminates the single